Well, ladies and gentlemen, week 6 of the NFL season is in the books with some shockers, especially on the Monday night games, and some jumps and drops in the rankings, the power rankings, which are brought to you by NFL.com. A week 6 recap, week 7 preview, and more are ahead in this episode of the BallsOut Show. I am your host, Jake Lehman, and I would like to welcome and thank each and every single one of you that are tuned in right now for tuning in to today's late night live of the BallsOut Show. Today we'll be starting off the show with a look back at what went down in week 6 of the NFL season. So as we covered on Thursday night's episode, if you guys watch, you know, we do a stream after the Thursday night football games on Thursday night. And on last week's stream, we covered that the Eagles lost 17-34 to the Giants, which dropped them 4 spots to 6 in the NFL power rankings. If you want to learn more about how that game went and what I thought about it, go back and watch Thursday night's stream. And then now we're going to get into the real games of week 6, Sunday, the games that everyone sits on their couch and watches all day. I'm sure I do, at least. Week 6 brought the Broncos and the Jets to London in an ugly game. I don't know if you guys watched. I did not watch it live. I kind of slept in. Wasn't expecting too much from that game anyway. Watched the replay. I was not wrong. Not much happened. It was a pretty ugly game. The Jets dropped to 0-6 with them losing 13-11. Fields only had 45 passing yards, which is a little ridiculous, and even worse, he had a 58.7 passer rating. Neither team looked good. Jets they're going on a downhill roll, and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. Yeah, neither team could get much going on the ground either. Team leaders were 59 yards for Breece Hall and 40 for J.K. Dobbins. Again, it was just a sloppy, ugly game. Broncos ended up winning 13-11, though. And then we move on to later in the day. We got the noon slate. We had the Indianapolis Colts beating the Arizona Cardinals. We had the Chargers beating the Finns. We had the Pats beating the Saints. We had the Steelers beating the Browns, the Panthers beating the Cowboys, the Seahawks beating the Jags, and the Rams beating the Ravens. So, in that noon slate, now we're going to go into each and every one of those games. The Colts put up 14 points in the fourth quarter to take away the lead and to beat the Cardinals, earning themselves an impressive 5-1 record to start off the season, and are now at the 8th spot in the NFL.com power rankings. Daniel Jones went 22 for 30. He had 212 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, but he did have 1 interception. Still a pretty solid game. He's, people are calling him Indiana Jones, and he's showing that he's still got a case to do something in this league, even after a kind of miserable start to his career in New York, but he's past that. He's with Indy now. Jonathan Taylor had a big game with 123 yards, over 21 carries, and a touchdown, with his longest rush being 30 yards. Tyler Warren had another solid game, rookie tight end. He got the most action from Jones's 212 passing yards. He got 63 yards and a touchdown himself. Jacoby Brissett from the Cardinals put up a solid game despite the loss. He had 320 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception himself. The ground game for Arizona was quite uneventful. DeMarcado went out with an injury relatively early in the game. Not much happened on the ground after that. Not much happened on the ground before that. He only had 1 yard before he went out. Zay Jones and Trey McBride accounted for 151 of Brissett's passing yards. The game was flipped after Indy put together a 66-yard scoring drive with Jones at the helm to take the lead for good. They never gave it back up. Arizona's rough start continues to keep going. It's piling up, and they're getting into a tough stretch of their season coming up here too, so that'll be interesting to see how that carries on for them. At noon, we also had the Chargers at the Dolphins. And that was a game that many, myself included, thought would not have been as close as it was. It was one that I personally thought the Chargers would have had in hand. Dolphins have been struggling. Chargers haven't been looking amazing, but they have definitely been looking better than the Dolphins. But again, it was a lot closer than expected. Dolphins put up some late game heroics to take a late lead, but it was no match for Justin Herbert and the Chargers, who went down the field and set up Cameron Dicker, the kicker, for a field goal in the last minute of the game to take home a win. Tua had an abysmal game throwing the ball. Just absolutely terrible. I mean, he put up an acceptable 205 passing yards, but 3 interceptions, not good. It's going to set you back. It's not going to leap you forward to a victory. Even though they had a massive performance from running back Devon Achane, who put up 128 rush yards on 16 carries and 2 touchdowns, and Jalen Waddle accounted for almost half of Tua's passing yards with 95 receiving. But it just wasn't enough to overcome those 3 interceptions in the game, which were just detrimental. The quarterback for the Chargers, Justin Herbert, put up 264 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and the Chargers had some help with a surprise performance by Kamani Vidal, however you pronounce his last name, I think it's Vidal, who rushed for 123 yards on 18 carries. Ladd McConkey broke the 100-yard mark and had a receiving touchdown, a boot. Big part of Justin Herbert being able to rack up some yards. Hey, what's going on? The crypto degenerate, how is it going? Where was I? The Chargers are 4-2 now. They will host Indianapolis this week, which should be a good test to see where they are actually sitting with Indy getting hot here, and the Chargers, it kind of looked like they're struggling a bit there. In another game in the noon slate, the one that I was not able to watch, we had the Saints dropping to 1-5 against the... Hold on, I'll get to that in a second. Crypto. Let me finish this game. So the Saints dropped to 1-5, losing to the Patriots, who jumped to 4-2 and now have the stand-alone lead in the AFC East in the standings. Drake May just continues to keep on shining as he registered 3 passing touchdowns, 261 passing yards, and a 140.1 passer rating. Spencer Rattler is no slump himself either, though. He's just not able to get those wins, but he's showing promise. He went 20 of 26 for 227 yards. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to put up any touchdowns, which didn't help them in the long run, obviously. They lost the game, but the ground game for either team was pretty lackluster, as both teams' rush totals were exactly 73 yards together, with Drake May leading for the Patriots and Kamara leading for the Saints, but nothing crazy for either of them. Neither team was able to cross the goal line on the ground. A headline from the game, I don't know if you guys remember Kayshon Boutte, however you pronounce it. He went ahead and got 93 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns on 5 receptions in his home state of Louisiana. And I saw somewhere that he bought 40 tickets for friends and family to come out and watch him in a big game that he had. Sorry, 1 second, Ryan. From what I saw, the game was pretty much uneventful. No big plays really happened. The Saints had a chance to go down and potentially tie it up, take a lead, or not tie it up, to get a go-ahead score, sorry. But Juwan Johnson fumbled the ball, which was called on a video review, which they originally said was a first down across midfield. Patriots win 25-19 and move up 2 spots to the 16th spot in the NFL.com power rankings. All right, we will take a quick second here and go ahead and see what the crypto degenerate is saying in the chat, where he is asking Bears -4.5 versus the Saints. Who do I like in that one? I believe you, but first off, I'm just going to go ahead and see what ESPN has that spread at and take a look at the over-under. Yeah, they have it at 4.5. Again, believe you. As you heard me say, in a over-under is set at 47.5. Bears money line is -230. That's by ESPN Bet. As you heard me say in the recap of the last game, Spencer Rattler is no slouch. He's not amazing, but he's showing promise. Bears, they somehow scraped out another 1-point win. Against the Redskins, the Commanders on Monday night. That will be covered in a later segment of this episode. It's Saints at Bears. I'm going to go over each and every game tomorrow after the Thursday night game. That would be pretty funny, crypto, if the Saints beat them, or if the Bears beat the Saints 25-24 for what would that be, a third straight game? That would be kind of funny. Sorry, excuse that. My heater just turned on. But yeah, the Bears at home, noon game. Saints are going to figure it out. Bears are not covering. They just may win, though. That's my answer to that. No cover. What did I say the over-under was? Over-under set at 47.5. We're going under on that. All right. Back to where I was. The recap of the noon slate from Sunday. In the next game, we had an AFC North matchup of the Browns and the Steelers. We got to see Dylan Gabriel make his first start in a very unimpressive fashion against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. Gabriel threw the ball 52 times, completing 29 of his attempts for 221 yards, but no touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers is still refusing to show his age. He put up 235 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns, and 115.3 passer rating, which helped DK Metcalf get his breakout game in the black and yellow. He registered 95 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, over 4 receptions. Steelers defense, just absolutely, I'll get to that in a minute. Crypto, I will be talking about that game towards the end of this episode of the Late Night Live on the BallsOut Show, as I am going game by game to go over what happened, what I think, reaction, so on and so forth. But yeah, Steelers defense got to absolutely eat against the Browns as they sacked Gabriel 6 times for a total loss of 38 yards. The win of 23-9 puts the Steelers in a good spot in the AFC North, as we are nearing somehow already the midpoint of the NFL season. We're 2 weeks away. Starting this week, we're 2 weeks away from the midpoint of the NFL season, which is crazy. And they can expand upon that good position in the AFC North with a win in Cincinnati tomorrow night, in a game that people are calling the Icy Hot Bowl. 2 old quarterbacks, 40-year-old Joe Flacco, 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Steelers also got a big leap in the power rankings this past week, jumping 5 spots to move to 10th in the NFL. And the Browns are, well, they're the Browns. So, yeah. Moving down and over to Carolina, the Panthers secured a win over the struggling Cowboys, who had Panthers had Rico Dowdle, who had an absolute revenge game put in the lap of the Cowboys. as the former Cowboys running back carried the ball 30 times for 183 rushing yards and tallying up another 56 yards in the air catching the ball. He didn't throw 56 yards on 4 receptions and a touchdown on top of it. On the other side, Cowboys' rushing game was absolutely horrendous. They only got 31 total yards in the game for the team. QBs were showing off some arm talent, though, with both Dak and Young throwing for 3 touchdowns each. After a back-and-forth game, the Panthers got the ball back, they got the ball back tied and got in a position to set up a game-winning kick for their kicker, Fitzgerald, to go home with a win over the Dallas Cowboys. All right, and now we are moving to the Seattle-Jacksonville game. Seattle, coming off a last-second game-winning field goal against the Bucs last week, went down to Jacksonville, where Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba they had a slow but successful game of pitch and catch. Darnold tallied up 295 pass yards and 2 touchdowns, with Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN, recording 162 of those yards receiving. Big game for him, and one of those touchdowns over 8 receptions. Neither team was able to put up much points, and each team outscored each other in 2 quarters respectively. But the Seattle Seahawks, 13 points in the second, and in the second quarter, and 7 points in the third quarter were enough to beat the Jags. 4 field goals that they put up, 2 in the first and 2 in the fourth. Though not a dominant win, the Seahawks did move up 2 spots in the NFL.com power rankings from 5th to 3rd as they continue to keep on moving forward and winning games. To finish up... Damn, already? Alright, cool. We're moving along a lot faster than I expected on this one. I spent a lot of time putting this together. But, yeah, sorry, I totally forgot to change this. And to finish up the noon slate games, we go over to Bears being a top 10 scoring offense. Sustainable right now, they're number 10. Sustainable, not in my eyes. Sorry, bud. I know you're a Bears fan. Bears are going to be the Bears. Bad news Bears. That is what they do. That was a stupid radio voice. All right, yeah, to finish up the noon slate, we go over to Baltimore, where the Ravens are just continuously, continuously struggling this season. But to be fair, they've been missing Lamar Jackson for, the past 2 weeks. And without Jackson, Derrick Henry was the star of the offense, which wasn't really that much of a star anyway. They weren't able to move the ball. Henry racked up 122 rush yards, no TDs. The Rams struggled heavily in the first half with penalties and lack of production, only putting up a field goal in the first half of the game. They got enough done in the third quarter, putting up 14 more points and shutting out the Ravens in the last 3 quarters of the game to pull out a win before they head over to London. Baltimore will go into their much-needed bye week. They're going into it 1-5 with a lot to figure out before they host Chicago on the 26th. That will be next weekend, not this weekend. For you, crypto, I'm sure you were scared of that game at the start of the season. But I don't know, man. The Ravens been looking rough. I'll leave it as is. In the first game of the 3/330 slate, we had the Titans coming off their first win of the season in a crazy turn of events. Some crazy plays happening in that fourth quarter in Arizona last week. They went out to Vegas to play the Raiders, who've been struggling themselves, mainly from the insane amount of interceptions that Geno Smith has been throwing. I mean, he put another one in the air for grabs this past week, putting them at 10 through the first 6 weeks on the season with only 7 passing touchdowns. Neither offense was particularly impressive, but both defenses recorded a pick, and Vegas racked up 6 sacks on rookie quarterback Cam Ward. The pressure was just too much for Cam, as he couldn't deal with it. They went scoreless in the first half, getting a field goal in the third quarter, which would be their first points of the game to put them down by 14. A touchdown in the fourth got them within 10 points, and they had a minor shot at coming back and potentially tying or winning the game late there. But they fumbled the ball, and then the Raiders were able to kneel it out, securing a win, which dropped 10-20, which dropped the Titans to 31st in the power rankings, and the Raiders jumped to 28th. And here we are. All right, hold on. Let's take a look and see what crypto is saying here. Bears will go into Baltimore and get clapped. Who knows? It's winnable, but Roquan and Lamar will be back. That is true. But, I mean, the Ravens are a one-win team. They just have not been looking good. Not saying the Bears have been looking amazing, but you never know. We'll see what happens in 2 weeks. There's a lot of things that can happen in between now and then. All right, but so now back to the recap. We're at the 3:30 games, and we're going to start off with my game. My Green Bay Packers hosting the Bengals and playing Joe Flacco yet again this season in a game that Flacco, in my opinion, did much better, but not enough to counteract the improvements the Packers made in their bye week last week. The game started off with an encouraging drive, encouraging offense by the Packers, and they were in scoring position. And then Love decided to go scrambling out to the right-hand side, and instead of just throwing the ball away, which would have left them in field goal range, he decided to try and force it, threw a pick, ending their drive. And then not much happened for a bit there. Nothing happened in the first quarter. Bengals were forced to punt on a 3-and-out. Packers went down and got a field goal in the second quarter to get the first points of the game. And then after a handful more punts, we got the ball back, made a solid drive. Josh Jacobs ran it in from 3 yards out to push the Packers up to 10-0. And again, not much happened after that for either team. At the end of the first half, though, the Bengals were they justified at field goal range, and it very well could have been. They sent McPherson out to try and kick a 67-yard field goal, which would have been the longest field goal of all time in the NFL. Makes the first one, but guess what? Packers call a timeout. Do it again. Misses wide right. We go into half, Packers up 10-0. In the second half, the Bengals made it interesting, taking the lead back down to 3 with a third quarter touchdown, and the fourth quarter is where the excitement kind of came in. Sorry, I'm losing it here, fading a little bit. Yeah, that's where the excitement came in, as the Bengals just kept inching a little closer to the lead. Well, they put up 11 points in the fourth quarter, but it just wasn't enough, as the Packers added 17 more points in the fourth quarter to secure the win at home, 27-18, bumping them to the 5th spot in the power rankings. And there seems to be something with the number 27 for the Packers this season. Every win that they've gotten, they won scoring 27 points. There's the whole thing that was a big storyline at the beginning of the season about the age of the quarterbacks. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers were 27 when they won a Super Bowl, and Jordan Love's turning 27 this season. 27 for some reason seems like Seems like a noticeable number for the Packers this year to keep track of. Another thing that was encouraging about this game, not just their bounce back off the last couple not great weeks before the bye. Matthew Golden, rookie wide receiver from Texas, finally had his breakout game. I was super excited to see that personally as a Packers fan. Would love to see it keep going. And yeah, the Packers will head to Arizona in Week 7 to play the Cardinals, who are struggling. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully the Packers can keep rolling. And the Bengals play the Steelers tomorrow night, obviously on a short week. And now we are going into potentially the most exciting game of Week 6. And it was the last game of the 3:30 slate as the Bucs hosted the 49ers in a 19-30 victory with Baker Mayfield receiving MVP chance throughout the duration of the game. And he was impressive, especially with missing a decent amount of his offense. Bucky Irving was out. Chris Godwin was out. Mike Evans was out. And guess what? He also lost the rookie phenom, Emeka Egbuka, and he still got it done. But that will be interesting to see how that pans out for the Bucs as their offense is missing some key players. See how it goes on for them until they get those guys back. I personally expected Mac Jones to have another solid game, as he did last week. Which, I mean, he did. He had a solid game, kinda. He put up 347 passing yards, which is impressive, but he was hindered by his 2 interceptions that he threw. The first half was close and exciting going into halftime with the Bucs up 20-16. Bucs didn't give that lead up, holding the Niners to only a third-quarter field goal for the rest of the game. Well, they put up 10 more points themselves. The Bucs remain one of the only one-loss teams in the NFL and moved up 3 spots to first. Apparently, they are the best team in the NFL right now, according to NFL.com. Moved up to first in the power rankings. Some massive and crazy plays in this game. Great catches. Like that was an exciting game to watch. That was to help make this number 1 team worthy of that ranking. And so then we did that, had that game, exciting, rolling into what expected to be another exciting game between the Red Hot Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs. Not what I expected, to be honest. The Lions went into Arrowhead and to play who seemed to be struggling, the Kansas City Chiefs. The fight was Jesus. The game was a fight, but not as good of a fight as there was at the end of the night when Brian Branch, no surprise, asshole from the Lions, threw some punches at Juju Smith-Schuster after the game was done. Branch has been suspended 1 week without pay. The Lions just weren't able to get too much going, and Mahomes had a solid night with 257 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, leading the Chiefs to a 30-17 victory at home and getting themselves back to 500 at 3-3. Although the Lions only dropped 1 spot and are sitting at number 2 in the NFL.com power rankings going into Week 7. Lions, I thought they were going to take a step back personally, losing both their coordinators, but again, they've been looking pretty hot. They just started off slow and not good against the Packers, and then they kind of just didn't seem to really show up Sunday night. But it is what it is. I'm okay with it, I guess. Not a Chiefs fan, but I do like watching the Lions lose. So yeah, a eventful and fistful Sunday night game. After that, we went into Monday night a dreadful Monday night doubleheader. I hate when they do the doubleheaders. That's not the only reason I called it dreadful, though. I mean, at least the late game, the Bears-Commanders, was at a reasonable time, normal time, 7:15. At least there was that, although I wish I wouldn't have watched that game anyway. But in the first game, the Bills got shocked in Atlanta, losing 14-24 and letting Bijan Robinson run all over them, racking up 170 yards, over 19 carries, and a touchdown. And Drake London just seemed to always be open, putting up 158 receiving yards and a touchdown, over 10 receptions himself. And Atlanta just looked to be moving the ball all right. Pretty solid, and the Bills were uncharacteristic. It was just not there for them. The reigning MVP Josh Allen for the Buffalo Bills, quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, he threw 2 interceptions and fumbled twice as well. It was not the Bills we know. It was, as Crypto says, the Bills are sorry. They should be sorry for that performance they put up. They should be sorry to all the viewers. That was weak. Do better, guys. But yeah, that after struggling against the Atlanta Falcons, they will go into the bye week 4-2 to work out the kinks. And the Falcons get another primetime game coming up this week as they visit San Francisco on Sunday night. That should hopefully be a good game. We'll find out, and we'll go over the look ahead later this week. Alright, and now for the game that I wish I hadn't watched. We had another team with high expectations just kind of flutter out. And I'm not saying they just didn't show up. There were, as Crypto said, what did he say? The Bears getting hosed by the refs and still won. They did. Those refs were not good. I'll put it at that. They were not good. But again, a game that I expected the Commanders to win. Decent amount of people expected them to win. They were hosting. But yeah, they just didn't look like themselves. To be fair, too, it was pouring rain, but it is football. Get used to it. No one cares. Sack up. You're grown men getting paid millions of dollars to play the sport. The Commanders were not able to get much going early and really at all, as they fell to Chicago 25-24 on a last-second field goal made by new Bears kicker Jake Moody in the pouring rain. The Commanders' defense seemed to just not be able to stop DeAndre Swift, as he tallied 108 rushing yards and had that really big screen pass reception for that late game drive. The Commanders, they had a shot to close out the game. They had the lead. They had a shot to close it out. Jaden Daniels turns over to hand the ball off. Goes ahead and, just drops it right into the lap of the Bears defender, setting up Chicago with a chance to go down the field and get Jake Moody in position to kick a game-winning field goal to win their second straight game, 25-24. The Commanders drop 3 spots to 12th in the power rankings. The Bears move up 1 spot to 18th in the power rankings. Chicago has a chance to keep their win streak. It is a 3-game win streak, with, again, 2 of them being by 1 point. They have a chance to keep their win streak going as they host the Saints this coming Sunday. Again, Saints are kind of struggling. Bears are the Bears, though. And the Commanders will have a divisional game as they head to Dallas to play the Cowboys. Now for alright, hold on. Let's see here. Yeah, Bears should have won by double digits. The Commanders were just not playing. They should have just stayed home. They looked piss poor. And yeah, you're naming some of those penalties there that were not not good calls. But like you said, as I said, a win's a win. They move on to what are the Bears now? 3-2. All right. Again, as they get ready to host the Saints. Now that we have gone over the recap of Bears vs. Refs. All right, GN Crypto Degenerate. See you in the next one. All right, so now as we finished up the recap of the Sunday games and the Monday games, Week 6 games just in general, we're going to go ahead and take a preview look at tomorrow night's game. They're calling the Icy Hot Bowl. We got 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers headed into Cincinnati to play 40-year-old Joe Flacco and the Bengals. Steelers have been looking pretty damn good, in my opinion, so far this season, carrying a 4-1 record and are favored by 4.5 points heading into the matchup. And the Bengals have just, to be perfectly blunt, they've been struggling since losing star quarterback Joe Burrow earlier in the season, as they're now 2-4, and they have this big game ahead of them as a divisional matchup in Week 7, Thursday night primetime. I think it'll be a hard-fought game with Rodgers still being Rodgers, and now that Flacco has had more than a couple days in the system under his belt, I expect him to find Chase and make more happen over the duration of the game to keep this one close. This is one that I do see the Steelers winning, though. I think they're going to cover the spread while they win. I'm going to be calling a final score right now of 28-20, Steelers over the Bengals. Check out the social medias, and there you will be able to see my bets and my predictions tomorrow as we get closer to the game itself. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat that I have not covered yet. So we are going to wind down the stream here and just give you guys a reminder that tomorrow night there will be another episode of the Balls Out Show Late Night Live, where I will react to the Thursday night football game and take a bit of a look ahead at the NFL games for this coming week, the Sunday and the Monday games. But we're mainly going to go ahead and recap the Thursday night game and look ahead at the college football games, as our next stream after tomorrow night will be Saturday night, where we will look ahead at the NFL a bit more there. So yeah, that's what's coming ahead. Stay tuned in with a subscription to the channel. Turn on those alerts so you know when we're going live. If you don't want to turn on the alerts, go ahead and follow over at Instagram. You can follow me personally. Let me go ahead and put up my my handles. If you look down in the bottom corner of the banner down there, you can see at Jake FB. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter /X, and TikTok at that handle. Go ahead and follow on all of the social medias, please. I would greatly appreciate it. That's where you can stay up to date with my takes and the Balls Out Show the most. Twitter is where I'm doing most of my up to the minute stuff, like reactions as I'm watching the games and news, just stuff like that. Instagram and TikTok is more where I'm doing some videos and sharing more of my just more kind of fun videos, but still also sports. So yeah, go ahead and follow, like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, I don't see any questions, so I would like to thank you all for watching. I'd like to wish you a good night, and I will see you tomorrow after the Thursday night football game. Good night, y'all.